to Own Your Truth. I am Brianna Johnson. You're currently listening to or watching episode number 8. And today I have the honor and the privilege to have Kweku Prapra from Ghana visiting today as my guest. He is originally from Ghana, but he is now living in the United States, in New York, I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah, New York City,
Yes.
Brooklyn to be
Awesome.
specific.
Okay. And I have done episodes before talking about my beliefs on the United States. I have been born and raised here and lived here my entire life, and I do have a lot of friends overseas. And we talk a lot about the difference between the reality of living in the United States and what is portrayed to foreign countries. Now, a lot of times it's portrayed that America is the land of opportunity. Anyone and everyone can get rich here. The land of milk and honey. And the analogies go on and on and on. If you're broke and poor in another country, you need to come here. You can make a living. All of your dreams can come true. But the reality is that not only is that not entirely true, there is a slim possibility that can happen. But the reality is that there's a high death rate here in this country. We do have racism. We do have police brutality. We have a large population of poor people, a lot of mentally ill. There are people struggling to get by from paycheck to paycheck. And now because of COVID, a lot of families have been displaced and are living on the street. And even though that's something that our country doesn't want the world to know, it is a true fact. And so when I talk to my friends overseas in any other country, I give it to them straight. I don't sugarcoat any of that. You moved here when you were 20 years old, and you told me that both of your parents lived here. Did that influence your decision to come here, the fact that you knew that your parents were here?
Yeah, that definitely was a motivating factor for me. With the influence that I got from them being here, I believe I saw an opportunity to make life better relatively, based on what we're talking about in terms of career opportunities, in terms of life opportunities to create something for myself. I saw that with the opportunities that they have, especially my father coming from a place of higher education. I saw him to have an opportunity that a person will not necessarily have in Ghana. So that became a motivating factor for me. Of course, there are a lot of opportunities in terms of educational institutions. Back in Ghana, we have about 4 major universities and a few private schools. So with a broad opportunities available in terms of higher education, I saw an opportunity here in America, just from the influence and the factors that was exposed to me from, my father in particular, because he had an opportunity to go to school here to get his PhD and, teaching in a university. So it became a motivating factor for me.
And that's actually quite helpful, honestly. I know that usually when a parent is in the educational system, then it creates additional opportunities for their children. And so your father being a professor possibly had the opportunity for you to have free or reduced tuition. Were you able to take advantage of that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So, rather than stay in Ghana and, paying or even coming to America and going to another school, I thought, hey, tuition remission is just, great opportunity. It's like a win-win. First,
Right.
having an opportunity to school in the United States. On top of it, going to a university where my parent was teaching. So I had to take advantage of the tuition remission to potentially save cost and not have that much of a ridiculous amount of, student loans, because that happened to be a private school. So you know how it is with private schools.
Right.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about your educational experience. Were you welcomed? I mean, you were a foreigner coming here from this country. Did you experience any kind of, and it might have been different since it was a private institution, I don't know. Did you experience a lot of racism because of your color or because of the country that you came from?
Um, Not necessarily or not directly. I happen to go to a predominantly Caucasian institution, which is most of the time I find myself to be the only person of color in the class, or and not just that, coming from a whole different country. So I happen to be like the only international student and a person of color. So two different things. So I experienced some microaggressions, which we could be defined in different ways. It could be that because I'm a foreigner, because I have a different accent, and because of my skin color. So it could be a variety of things. So I could not necessarily pinpoint, is this racism? Or I could not necessarily tell if somebody's really being stereotypical, prejudiced, or racism. But I can define it as a microaggression towards me just because of, the factors that I mentioned.
Or,
Yes.
so what did you study in school?
So I was, I studied three different things undergrad. So my major was in biological science, biology, the major, and I had a minor in entrepreneurship, so principles of entrepreneurship. So, and then that was a 4-year degree, biology and entrepreneurship, and I had a plus 1 year, which was in post-baccalaureate in medical laboratory science.
And we spoke a little bit before we decided to do the podcast today. I know for a fact you're putting all of that education to use. You are working in laboratory science. You are an entrepreneur. You are doing everything that you set out to do. And by all intents and purposes, as a migrant to this country, you are successful. Like when there's this checklist, right, of when people come to another country of what they want to do. They want to be able to establish themselves somehow. They have to have some sort of a structure. You started with education, and from that, you have built up a job and then a future career prospects and finance and everything else. But there's an additional step for you. You have a passion for helping other people. And so we, of course, have to make sure that we are all in good standing before we can really be of benefit to anyone else. And now you're in that position where that's kind of you. You have multiple businesses, and you're taking care of all of those things. And I wanted to let everyone know that they can, reach you. You have an Instagram account on social media.
Yes.
It's kweku.peps, P-E-P-S, right?
Yes,
kweku.peps for Instagram.
Yes.
So just to let everybody know, once you follow him and find him on Instagram, you will also find his links and other things attached to his profile on there. So you can, follow him in those other aspects as well. One of them is a fashion company. He doesn't, do this now, but I've heard he has a voice. He's a choir. So maybe at some point, who knows? There might be something there too.
Yes.
But what are some of the things, because I feel like I know more about you than my audience does right now. So tell us a little bit about what you've got, all of your fingers into at the moment.
So, I guess I would start off by saying, to whom much is given, much is expected. You probably heard that quote before, and I believe that I was given an opportunity to go to school, educate myself, which is formal education. But at the same time, I just felt it was there was a need to actually study how system works. There's a lot of systems. I went through formal education system, which doesn't necessarily show you a way of life, a way of treating people, a way of impacting people. It really guides you through a curriculum based on some theories, but application is normally based on what you study is lacking. If you're not fortunate to go into a professional field like nursing or medicine or law, where you learn to practice what is being taught in school, for the most part, you're really missing out, and you don't really get the real life experience of, helping people or understanding the meaning of what you do with your education or the knowledge that you gain. So with that being said, I find myself in, biology, which is great. I enjoy studying biology, and I was passionate about studying about how the human body system works, and how it keeps us alive and how we're able to function, right? At the same time, I wanted to get more out of life. I was seeking for more. How do I make impact in humans' lives? How do I let people feel as though they are welcomed in society and that they are more than what they think they are? Basically, inspiring them to understand their value and the meaning of their existence, helping them to find their purpose, right? And I'm sure by now you could tell biology you don't you don't learn biology to do all these things, but
right.
It was because of my background and the challenges that I faced in life. Yeah, although I was studying biology and wanted to go to medical school and be in the medical field, as currently I'm doing right now. I'm in a cardiovascular research is what I'm doing right now. That is one thing, to impact people through helping them with their health. But on the other flip side, with the challenges that I went through growing up in a single parent household and not having my father around, really impacted me as a person. I didn't have any guidance in life, so most of the time I find myself lost. Not necessarily lost, but being independent and really finding my own path with a purpose without having any sort of guidance or system. So I had to really figure it out, right? I had to really learn how to swim. It's kind of like being thrown in the water and like trying to figure out without any guidance, And of course, maybe every now and then, there's an analogy that I'm using: being thrown in the water, and every now and then maybe you have a lifeguard on the side when you need them. But for the most part, you're really struggling on your own. And
Right.
that has been my life, really trying to go through these challenges most of the time by myself, sometimes really reaching out to people that I believe can help me. So going through that, especially during my teens and growing up in my formative years, not really having the guidance and the resources or somebody, my confidant to really seek for help from, it was really hard. And more so somebody that can serve as a mentor or coach or an advisor in life. So I find myself really doing so many different things. And, growing up, I had a formal fear of missing out. So with that, because I didn't have the guidance and somebody to help me to focus on a certain area that can bring me some sort of success, I was just trying to figure out to see what would work for me and what wouldn't, and just to find my passion. So I was really on the path with a purpose without any particular guidance. So that exposed me to a lot. And, with my difficulties, I learned through, fighting through the challenges and the difficulties. And that has contributed to who I am right now. Not necessarily where I want to be, but definitely learning and applying some of the knowledge to get me to the desire of my life. So having that challenging background has really instilled in me the passion to helping people not go through exactly what I went through, especially teenagers, like being in their formative years and transitioning into adulthood. So to really help them to understand the meaning of life and the importance of having a mentor, or importance of really finding your passion so that you can thrive in life. So I felt like life had given me a lot, in terms of the opportunities
Right.
and the challenges. All right. So having that and holding on to that, I felt like, hey, I have all these. Why don't I just use that to pay for it? Like, because by now you could tell that I have some resources that I'm using to guide me through life to help me get to where I want to be in terms of the career guidance, career resources, educational services, communication, financial literacy, emotional intelligence, all of these, like counseling and so many different things that I have my hands on that I believe can help a person get to their destination or their desired outcome. So I believe I have been given a lot first with the challenges because I didn't get to where I am without the failures and fighting through the challenges to get to where I am right now, which
Right.
again, I'm not where I want to be, but definitely learning through it, pushing past the frustration and going through the process and trusting the process that is going to work for me. But I say that to say I don't necessarily have to get to the peak of things before I start helping people, before I start pulling people up. I have to utilize what I have right now so I can get more, right? Because if you're not utilizing what you have, if you don't use it, you lose it. You probably heard that several times. So I stand by that principle that, you don't necessarily have to have everything to get 100% to help. You just got to give and, reach out whenever you can.
Yeah, I love that. And honestly, I think that's one of the reasons why you and I kind of click, right? Because I'm a firm believer in that too, and it's something that I help people with holistically, their holistic health, and that encompasses so many different things. And I see you doing it, and that's what the podcasts are for. We bring all this stuff to the surface. And I was telling somebody, I think yesterday actually, or the day before, about how as adults we look at our lives and it's this gigantic puzzle, and you see all these pieces, and we look at that and we're like, wait a minute, this doesn't even make a picture. Like, we've got all these things in different places, and that's our programming, right? We've got different pieces from our experiences and the things that we're taught and the things that are imprinted on our mind. And then as an adult, it's up to us to reparent ourselves a lot of the time. We got to take apart that puzzle, and we got to start putting it back into a way that makes sense for us. And sometimes those pieces don't fit. We got to get rid of them. Sometimes we got to craft a new piece and put it where it's supposed to go. And I think that really says a lot about, your struggle and where you've been and where you're going. And I do believe that none of us actually finally get to that destination of, okay, I'm good. I'm done. I have everything I want. I've helped all the people I'm going to help. While we're here on this planet, our mission is always to grow and evolve and to change. We can't do that without interaction. We can't do that without goals. We can't do that without getting to a point where we're a little bit uncomfortable and we want to see some change. And so, we got to just keep it going. We got to keep it moving. And I see that in you. You've taken on a lot of stuff. You're obviously pretty popular. You have over 6,000 people on Instagram. So that means you outwardly can make those connections with people. You're friendly, you're personable. But you also have to have a system in place, like you said. You have to have a network. You have to have people you trust around you. And I see you building all of that up. And before we were on camera, right, you and I were talking, this was actually a phone call we had yesterday, about how passionate you are about putting systems into place. You have the potential to take this information that you've learned. You have the potential to build up structure. You have the potential to create businesses and take that information and apply it in Ghana.
Yes.
And I am thrilled for that prospect for you. I am excited with everything that Ghana has been doing. I have been following them for quite some time, and I'm excited. Like, this has been a long time coming for your country, and I do believe that when the time comes, it's going to be a great nation, even greater than what it is now. I wish all of us around the globe could, get our crap together and start pulling together the way that Ghana has over the last few years.
Oh yeah.
But you had mentioned that this might be something that you do. You might end up going back and setting up a few things for your country. Do you have any idea what that might be yet?
So several things. One of the things that triggered me in particular to going into the medical field was really the health disparities. So that has been on my heart, and in fact having a direct impact or effect, so to speak, with health disparities has really put on my heart to really dive into anything I can do to help in the field in Ghana, right? So one of the things that I put on my 10 plus year plan, I would say 10 to 15 year plan, is to develop a system that really helps. And part of the reason I actually went into medical school was to be at the forefront to be fighting health disparities, public health disparities. So 10 to 15 years plan that I have is to really have a health center in Ghana, a health center with some renowned medical professionals to be helping. I believe that ease out the stress and the decrease in expertise. And I would be having also an outreach program where potentially I'll be networking with different doctors that would travel to Ghana to help when they can, just to give back and reach out in that health care center, right? So it wouldn't be just a few doctors stationed there, but people that can rotate to take chance to just do service, free services if they could, to really help a community like Ghana, especially in a rural area where healthcare is unfortunately not the best there. So I believe that is going to be a great way I could impact, and also helping develop a non-for-profit so that I can really sponsor that journey that I have.
I sincerely hope that you find the perfect team for this, and I wish you every good possible outcome, because I believe in what you're doing. There's definitely a need. I want you to succeed. I want you to take this on. I want you to be empowered. I want, you to be lifted up. I want people to get on board, because here's the thing. We need to create these networks. We need to create these tribes of people who are passionate about change. If you've got to live on this planet for as long as we do, you might as well be doing something productive.
Oh, yes.
And as long as I've been growing up, I've seen people take and take and take. Our government's really great at that. But you don't see a lot of people give back, right? Because we were programmed that we need to go to school. We need to get a job, stay in that job, be loyal to that company for as long as we can, ride that out, get retirement, pension, whatever. And then the rest of our days, we can sit on our porch with our white picket fence and just watch the sunset. And that's another one of those analogies about, the American dream.
Mm-hmm.
And that's garbage too. I really believe that the new American dream has to be about us pulling together, not just as a country, but as a global family, to really enact these changes and to do away with the old systems. We got to call out people on their crap. We've got to disempower them, and we've got to step up and say, hey, no more. We're done. We're done following. We're done following bad leadership. We're done subscribing to a certain type of ideology. It just doesn't fit. And so I applaud everything that you're doing. Those of you who are watching this program, those of you who are listening to this program, please, if you can, get in touch with Kwaku. Get on his Instagram. Look at what he's doing. He's got some fashion stuff out there. You can buy that. He's into a couple of different things. There is something out there for everybody. You might even have connections with him in the medical profession. You might have something else of interest. reached out. It was not difficult to get his attention. He is really good at responding to people, even though he does have his hands on a million things. He's still very much connected to that humanality concept, which I absolutely love. Please don't ever lose that.
Yes,
do not become bitter and harsh and start blocking people out, because
not at all.
That's how we lose opportunities, right? Like, you've got to stay open to just about everything.
Yes.
But I don't know. Your other businesses are great too. Did you want to talk about any of those? I mean, I mentioned the fashion one, but
yes. So I guess the fashion in itself and all the the micro business that have is a means to an end of something, or not the end of or the beginning of something else. Because I take opportunity of things to help me to get to the means, the end of things or the beginning of something bigger. Although I'm passionate about fashion, I have a passion for fashion. I don't really buy into it, but I look out for things that really entices. As far as with Urban Vest, which is one of my online businesses, I outsource with vendors that help produce some great fashion things. And actually, with Urban Vest, I focus on seasons, right? With the season coming, the fall and winter season coming, I have some products out, from jackets, vests, hoodies, and sweatshirts to keep us warm. So that is really for that, and also for Pep's World, which is my own personal brand. What I do is the idea behind that is that sending a message to people out there to get inspired. So if you could tell, if you get on my website, you see a lot of my apparels have messages on there. Talk to you, tells you about dreams and stuff like that. I have some new releases coming, and the whole idea is not just to be wearing an ordinary shirt, because you could just go to Macy's or Target to get a shirt, right? But what I do is I have some great inspirational message for people to understand.
I love the clothing. I got on there and I was checking it out. So if ever you need a brand ambassador, hit me up, because I would totally rock that stuff.
You're on. We're in this together. So yeah, I actually had a shoot. I have a photo shoot and video shoot last weekend, just to get some people on there wearing the clothes and like the New York lifestyle. I call it a Pep's World New York, because I don't know if you heard of the tagline of New York. If you can make it here, you can make it anywhere.
Yeah. Right.
That's the tagline of New York. It's a hustle here in New York City, right? You could, if you're not doing something positive at a very high level, you could be doing something really not so good on a very high level. So what I've decided to do is to inspire the youth, right? From going into high school and even college, to inspire them that you can be whatever you want to be, right? So if you can make it in New York because of how hard it is, whether it's the housing system, whether it's the job system, because New York City is highly populated, right? So to get an opportunity is quite hard, right? But once you find the right opportunity, once you find the right lead, you're gonna have to make use of it. So what I'm looking to do is to use that brand, my personal brand, to inspire the people, not just in New York. Although it is rooted in New York City, it is a message that goes out to anybody outside of New York City, right? Because of my challenge of not having opportunities, I needed that motivation to push me that, hey, I shouldn't be limited by my beliefs now, but be looking into the future. What I mean by that is that I should not be limited by my mindset, because mindset is everything, right? And of course, communication is key. Communicating through inspiration, like a video. You can go on YouTube and find videos of inspiration. That's a form of communication that inspire, motivate people. And so one of my other form of communication is utilizing my brain to tell a story, to tell people, hey, I was once not having opportunity, and I was once challenged in life, and I had to figure out a way for myself. So I'm using my life as a story to tell people to get inspired. So, some of the message that I spread is through my pearls, having some nice messages. And of course, it's not just any scribbled message on the t-shirt or any. I made it nicer and stylish so anybody can wear it, right?
Right.
If you
Well,
don't
it's
like,
very professional. Like even the pictures and the videos and stuff that you have done, it's very well put together. I was impressed, and this is something that I'm starting to do as a living, right? So I'm looking at this and I'm like, he knows his
yes,
stuff. Like you know how to catch a person's eye. You know
right,
what's appealing. You know what drives people, and that's really really important. And I think
yes,
that's really going to drive your fashion line because I don't like shopping on what's on the rack, right? It's not unique enough. Everyone's wearing it. It's not. It
right.
doesn't fit my fashion style. It doesn't fit my sense. It doesn't fit my ideology.
That's true.
But what you're doing does, and I think that's important. We need to stop settling for whatever's out there. We need to expect more out of life, and you found a way to do that just in what we wear. And I tell people this all the time on the podcast, and I've given this to my audience as a challenge. Maybe we'll do that again right now. But to challenge us to live with pure intent. And that goes down to everything that we even put on our bodies, everything we put into our bodies, everything that we say. There's a reason behind it. You have to
Absolutely.
understand that intention. And if you're just haphazardly throwing things out there in the universe, then your life is going to be haphazard.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes down to the smallest little detail.
Yes.
And that goes with what we're wearing too. If you're going to Walmart in slippers and sweatpants, we need to talk.
Yes. Yes.
We need to have a conversation. So.
Yes, that's true. So you just got to find a way to inspire.
Right.
Sometimes it's not necessarily just talking out of like vocal, but what we wear. If you have a message on there, inspire. I had a shirt on yesterday that says Operation Impact. Be the change. And it's a message, right? It tells people be the change that you want to see in the world. Operation Impact. So the message is to be the change, and that's the impact that we make. So something like that. I didn't necessarily have to say it to a person, but that message on the shirt is really what's gonna inspire a person to, oh, okay, I get it. Somebody cares in life. That's a message. Got it. You never know. That one line or one tagline could impact somebody's life for the rest of his life, and it's a ripple effect. If that person is being impacted, there's a chance he or she is going to impact somebody else.
That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And just think
Yes.
too, like if you'd have just worn a plain shirt with nothing on that, no one would have even thought about it. But like you said, you don't know who's watching. You don't know who's paying attention. It's a lot like, we go through life and we try to help people because we're good people. It's what we do. It's in our blood. It's in our DNA. We want to see people succeed. We help them. But at the end of our days, we may never even realize the type of impact we've had on a person. And that's okay. That's not why we do it. The fact is we show up.
Yes.
We show up and we contribute. And that is what's important. And that's what your line of clothing does.
Yes.
It doesn't even have to be aggressive. It doesn't have to be in your face. It's just there. It exists.
Right on. Right on. It's you just gotta, not too much. Too much.
Right.
From what I heard, and it's an African proverb that we say, too much of everything is bad. Everything has to be in modulation.
Sure.
Moderate,
And that's
minimal,
true.
and because there's you can't do too much or say too much. It turns people away sometimes. You just gotta give it enough is just enough. It's a cliche,
That's right.
but
We give just enough. And sometimes that's really all it takes, right? So, somebody could have been having a bad day and saw that and it's like, you know what? Maybe humans aren't all that bad. Maybe humanity's not doomed to fail. It could completely change their perspective because someone else does care. And it's not just them. They're not out there alone. And I think that makes an important difference. But you would even possibly inspire other people to do something similar, to create a jewelry line that is inspiring and has inspirational quotes or,
yes,
additional clothing items as well. And I think that that's important. I have my 4 sons, and I was listening to your story and the importance of how the absence of your father kind of changed you, right? And I feel like that's also something that's kind of a common thread with you and I. I didn't have a lot of support from my family growing up either, so I feel like I had to try all of these different things, right? Because I didn't have an opportunity to do that when I was younger. And so I know how that impacted me, right? I know that.
Yes.
So when I'm raising my sons, I did the exact opposite, right? I would tell them, do it. If you want to do it, try it. And one of my sons, the oldest one, Antonio, one day, he's like, you know what? When I grow up, I'm going to be Superman. I'm like, all right, that's cool. Want me to make you a cape? I know as a mother, he's not going to grow up to be Superman.
Yes. Yes.
But he is a hero.
Mm-hmm.
He's 20 years old and he owns his own business. That's a
Oh,
hero.
that's amazing. That's a true
if I had
heroic
told
story.
him at such a young age that you can do whatever you want, if I would have stifled that dream and snuffed that out, life would be a lot different for him.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. And so I took that void that you and I have in common, right? I took that void and I filled it with something. And that's what you're doing now. So I want to recognize you for that too. That even though there may have been an absence in your life, you're now filling that. And it's not just for these kids. It's not just for the people that see you. But you are doing this for yourself as well. And I want you to acknowledge and feel that. Like you have the capabilities to give yourself those things that you didn't have when you were younger,
Yes.
And we have to do that now because I'm the same way. Like I feel like I had to live 2 childhoods, one that wasn't so great, and then another one. I get this opportunity now that I'm older to do some of the things I never got to do. There was a lot of people that told me I couldn't do a podcast. There's a lot of people that said, you don't have anything anyone's going to want to hear about. And that started when I was like in 2nd grade. So imagine the impact that had on me growing up as an adult.
Look at you now.
But I just wanted to say thank you for being you. Thank you for letting your light shine. I know that you're making an impact, even if you can't see everything. You're casting a really bright light, and so I just want you to know it touches a lot of people. And I want to thank you for that. So.
Thank you for having me also. Yes, you're awesome, and I believe you're doing an amazing job. Although Riverside FM, which is the platform you're using for this podcast, it may not be broad, but I'm sure you're making impact one person at a time, right? Your message inspires me to do better and to even do more, right? You never know, but your words means a lot to me. That I shouldn't just settle for what I'm doing, but definitely, broaden myself and make more impact.
I appreciate that.
Yes.
We are in this little tiny podcast that I'm doing, right, is now on 9 different platforms and in 22 different countries. I have 22 different countries that listen to me. So
amazing.
I'd say that's quite a bit of an accomplishment for not having done this completely for 2 years yet.
Whoa.
So my audience is growing, and I welcome people from other countries to come on here. And you and I might be able to find somebody even in Ghana who has a story that they'd like to share. So
oh yes, there's plenty of stories. Yep.
Educate us. I want the education. Give it to us. So
yes.
We'll figure that out. That might be a future episode.
Right.
We did touch on a lot of stuff today. Is there anything that you would like to discuss that maybe we didn't or overlooked, or a thought that came to you?
So one thing that I want to really stress on is that we shouldn't be limited by our fear, right? I always talk about fear to be false evidence appearing real. That's FEAR, false evidence appearing real. Many times people are scared of making the next move and the other move just because their mindset is like, oh, I'm scared of failing, or I don't know if I'm going to be well, or I don't know. I just really the imposter syndrome that we have to overcome. That's what we create the imposter syndrome just for ourselves. So it becomes a fear, something that's not there, but we just create it, and it just scares us from moving forward in life. and that's how we really do not succeed, right? And I'm actually reading a book, Failing Forward by John Maxwell, which is an incredible book that talks about being comfortable with failing, right? Because the fear of failure is not really something that is going to get us to become successful. We have to embrace it, right? We have to embrace it. Not just embracing it, just staying there, but utilizing that as a motivation to get to the success that we desire, right? One quote that I really like is that a bold attempt is half success, right? If you take that first step, that is going to put you on a pathway so that you can take the next step, right? A journey of 1,000 miles begin with a step. And if you master that step, you are on to success. One thing that I actually struggled with, which, is still a challenge, is starting something, right? But what I do always is just, I just need that jump start, kickstart. I need that kickstart to, get me going. And once I get on the path, I'm in the zone, and I create that momentum and I keep it going. And, along the way of everything, there's bumps on the road in everything. But you don't have to ever stop at a bump. Like when you get bumped, even, you don't have to just stay at the bump and say, oh, I can't overcome this. You have to push yourself. That's like one of the stumbling blocks or the challenge that you're going to face, right? So being open-minded and overcoming fear is something that we have to learn, because that's how people become successful. If you want to become rich, Bill Gates of the world, the Tony Robbins of the world, the Oprah Winfrey's of the world, they had to overcome something. And it's not the success that makes their story incredible. It is the failures and their level of perseverance is what really makes us adore them, right? Because think about it this way. If you go through life without facing anything, if you watch a movie, right, and in that movie the hero just was a hero, everything was successful, like he didn't have to overcome anything. He was like, he wakes up in the morning, just eat breakfast and get on the way, and everything is going smooth. You probably would think, oh man, this movie is boring. You want that action, right? You want him overcoming, like the hero that's like, having those, like I love action movies growing up. I liked the Terminator, which is like an incredible movie. He had to overcome a lot of obstacles, right? He didn't just go through life and like, oh, okay, you an enemy, shot dead, moving on. He had to really fight. He took some blows, he took some hits himself, and that's what makes a story incredible. That's what captivates people, and that's what motivates people to be like, oh man, Oprah Winfrey, oh man, that woman, she did amazing. She had overcome a lot. They said she could not host a podcast. They said Queen B, they said she could not hold a podcast. She proved them wrong. She was able to do it. Oprah, they said she could not even, communicate. She proved them wrong. She has one of the biggest network in the world, right? And she's a billionaire. So these stories of overcoming to overcome and to get into our success is what makes our story incredible. So opportunities are there, right? Like now, maybe somebody could be starting a business and don't know where to go, but there's so many different things on YouTube that you can watch to inspire you and stuff like that. But for me, I encourage people to really buy into somebody that can help them, right? Finding a mentor, somebody that can really help them start something, somebody that is really going to motivate them to understand what success is, somebody that has been to where you want to be that you're not, but that person is there, person that has a fruit on the tree, really, right? And that that in itself is a motivator, right? Because you become an average of your 5 friends combined, right? You can't just hang around the same people doing the same thing that are not looking to go anywhere. But if you're looking to become successful, you get with successful people, right? You look up, you don't look down, or you don't look horizontally. You always have to look up to somebody that is doing well in life where you want to be, and have the person become a role model or something, because you can be successful just being on the same level without pushing yourself towards that level. So I say that to say opportunities are great. There are several opportunities out there for anybody that is looking to thrive and get to the next level in life.
Absolutely. I think that's true. And like you said, sometimes it's just that fear of getting started. And I'm glad you brought up the movie thing, because I have this saying is you can't be the sidekick in your own story. You have to be the
Mm,
hero. We don't
yes.
follow sidekicks to the end of the story. We don't follow the extras in the movie to the end of the story. We follow the hero. You're the hero
Absolutely.
in your own story.
Hmm.
So if you're not willing to write the script, get out there and do something, then you're not actually living your story. You become stagnant, like we talked about before. And stagnation is the opposite of growth. That's where we have decay. That's where we have rot. And that's not where I want to be.
Right.
I want to grow. I want to flourish. I want to see something, prosper. And I want to see all these seeds that I've planted start to grow and bloom and flower. I want to know what they become, and that's kind of the fun thing about the journey, right? When we do
Yes.
get started, we're just planting seeds, and along the way, we're watering it, and our tribe is watering it. And if we are patient and diligent, then something comes from that seed. It's when we give up and we stop watering. We stop
Absolutely.
giving to that seed, that thing starts to die even before it gets started, and we don't give it that opportunity to grow. So I believe all of what you said. Like I think that it's great. And you were right about the fear aspect. If we're not willing to try, I mean, we're not going to get anywhere. We're not going to get the results we want for sure. They say the only way to win the lottery is to actually play it, and it's the same thing with life. You can't win at life if you've chosen to opt out. So.
Right. Like you said, you gotta play the lottery to win it, right?
That's right.
And I also have an analogy. If you want the seed to grow, you gotta plant it, right? And you can't just plant it and just leave it. You gotta water it, right? You gotta keep watering consistently, watering it, watering it. It may be hard. You may forget one day, but go back to it the next day. Water it. Put some water on it. You
Right.
know, put some water on it. Put some water on it, and it's just gonna have to cultivate, and then the harvest. There's a harvest season. So yeah, it's the journey.
That's what we're doing. We're watering. Every day we get up and we water. We might take a
Yes.
day off, but we're watering.
Absolutely. Oh yes, yes. We might, every now and then you just got to give it time for the water to marinate, and
Right.
moisture the soil a little bit, and then you come back the next day, and then so that's what we're
For
doing.
sure.
Life is all about planting the seed and watching the seed grow.
Yeah, and that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. Quaku, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. And I will, of course, make sure that all of your contact information is in the description. If you guys are on Instagram, find him. It's Quaku, KWAKU .pet, PETS. And that's his
Yes.
Instagram account. Thank you again so much for joining me. I appreciate your time. I know that you've probably got a million things to do today. In all reality, I do too. But this was a great little break. Great little
Yes.
break.
I'm sure.
So
Yes.
thank you again so much. And to my audience, until next time, own your truth.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.